I think, or I would say that I want to live my life more intentional, like being intentional upfront before something happens or before the day starts. I want to set my intention as to what I want out of that day, what I want out of that meeting, what I want out of that project or whatever, out of that encounter. And that gives you context for a lot of things that you have to do on a daily basis. And it gives you purpose and the intention makes you be more present while you're living the experience. We are so used to just living our lives without questioning or without changing much. We were used to going to work like Monday to Friday, and then on the weekends we could party and see some friends and family. And that all came to a stop, of course, with the COVID lockdown rules in the different countries all over the world. But it made us think about, or it made me think about what it is I really want from life, and it made me live more intentional and be more present when things are happening. I once uh, had a little workshop with some of my friends, and um, I made these. I bought these notebooks, and in each notebook, I wrote a a quote that I thought was particularly geared towards one of the people that were in that group. But then I decided not to give them the uh, the notebooks with that particular quote for them, but I decided to just lay them on the ground and everybody could pick up a notebook and see what the quote was that was inside. And the funny thing was that I think 95% of people just took the quote that I intended for them. Um, it's only because I added a few extra notebooks with extra quotes that I say 95%, because maybe if I hadn't done the extra ones, everybody would have taken the quote that was meant for them. But it was really extraordinary, and we talked about that and the intention. And I think um, the intention I had when I wrote the quotes in the notebooks was the reason why the notebooks ended up with the right people. And I think I've another story about being intentional, and it's it's a really funny story, but there's um, I have um, hosted many parties. I just love to do that. So, and often I didn't quite know how many people would attend, because there was always someone who said, yeah, maybe I'm coming, or maybe I will not be there. And so I just added another plate, because it's I think much easier to just remove the plate than to add one if that person is coming. But this was a New Year's Eve, and I was living with Hilde, my sister, and we were like setting the plates for the party that would uh, go about in our house. And I set an extra plate because again, uh, one of our friends said, "Yeah, I might come, or but I'm not sure, and maybe I'm not coming." And she was just changing her mind every other day, so I decided I just put a plate there. But then I was really intentional about it, and I said, like, I set this plate because maybe there's some um, lonely person out there that want to celebrate with us. It was a really silly thought, and I just added the plate, and I told Hilde, and she thought it was funny. So we told everybody uh, that came, all our friends that came to the party, and we told them, like, yeah, that's the plate for that lonely person that is out there. And then I think it was like quarter to 12 or something, and suddenly someone uh, rang our bell. So I opened the door, and there was this older man, and he asked if he could use our telephone. Mind you, that was pre smartphone and pre cell phone times. And so we let him in and let him phone it because he wanted to phone a hospital. He was telling us that his wife and his daughter were, he was like a German sailor, and he arrived with his ship in the Antwerp harbor, and he took a taxi, and he ended up in a pub nearby where we lived. And he told us that his wife and his daughter were coming for New Year's Eve, and they were in an accident, and so he had to call the hospital. So yeah, we let him in, and we let him call the hospital, and we gave him something to drink, and we gave him something to eat. And then he wanted to go. We asked him, can we like drive you to your boat again, or somewhere else? Or but no, he wanted to go. And then before he went, he talked to all of us, and he said, "This is my phone number. If ever any one of you is in trouble, just call me. Just let me know, and I will be there for you because you have been here for me." And that was such a profound moment, for all of us. And so he left, and then I think 10 minutes later, or 15 minutes later, maybe. Um, Someone from the pub called us because we had exchanged phone numbers, and someone from the pub phoned us and said, like, uh, he was asking if somebody can drive him to his boat. So my brother and one of our friends, they went and drove him to his boat, and well, nearly to his boat, because he didn't want them to pull up all the way to where his boat was. So he stepped out somewhere, I think in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. So they came back, and they had a really odd feeling. We all had a really odd feeling about that person and about what had happened. And um, mind you, he rang our bell because when I was decorating the house, we had a um, we had shutters, and I had pulled them up like this high, so we wouldn't be disturbed by all the people walking by. But I put some candle lights on the tablet, and then so when you walked outside, you could see the candles shining, and that's um, what draw his attention, and why he rang our bell. And but it was such a strange experience, especially because he was like, when he left, and he said, like, you're such good friends, and you should like keep seeing each other, and it was like a prophecy, like something like that. And we were all wondering about it later on. And we, of course, we called the phone number he gave, but the number just didn't exist. And then we even phoned the harbor police and asked them, like, where's this boat? He gave us the name of his boat, and there wasn't any boat in the harbor at that time. And we called the highway police to ask them uh, whether there was an accident that happened with a mother and a daughter from Germany, and but nothing had happened. So we decided, like, okay, he just came in to have a drink and have something to eat, but he really called the hospital. So that was really strange. And so we talked about it a lot. And in the end, we just decided, like, okay, this was some sort of angel that decided to come in and tell us that we were such a good friends, that we were doing a good job, that we just had to keep up what we were doing. And I know this is a really long story to just tell you that um, if I hadn't, maybe if I hadn't had the intention of this is for a lonely person out there on the street, maybe he just hadn't come in, and we wouldn't have had that experience. So I'm not saying be intentional so you have these kind of experiences, or maybe I do, but just like there's a lot more to life than meets the eye. And we are so busy living in our treadmill and just living from one meal to the other, or from one work day to the other, or from one party to the other. And we we just forget to live and to enjoy, and to keep our eyes and our hearts open to anything that can happen. And just wonder, just wonder what kind of magic will come your way if you are being intentional, and if you are living in the moment.